Why did he not include the Samaritans with the Gentiles? Because the Samaritans are also Jewish. They come from the descent, and they claim descent from two sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, and also from the Levites. And they think that they are more Jewish than the traditional Jews, because the Torah that they use is the same book. They said that it is the original. It is the religion that Moses brought without corruption. So they say that the current Torah of the mainstream Judaism is corrupted. So they were also segregated in a way. But if Jesus didn't say go and preach to them or heal them, probably they were okay. But he said, no, go there where the mass is bigger, right? Where the people there are sicker. So this is Jerusalem. So that's where, that was the center. So, but there are synagogues everywhere in the area, but the main ones were here. And this, it's when we're going to see the money changers and Jesus go to the temple. So it was in Jerusalem. And he goes to the temple and he's very mad that people were there right in front of the synagogue selling doves, white doves. There was a sacrificial that back then. Part of their religion celebrations were to sacrifice animals to God. They believed that that was a thing to do, and they sacrificed the doves were one of the little ones, but then the bigger the celebration, probably the animal. So the sheep was one of them. It was a big animal. Now, the Jewish were great businessmen, right? They always have been. They learned it. So who are the money changers? So Jesus was there. He was very mad at them, and he kicked them and he lashed them and he turned over their tables and wreaked havoc there in front of the synagogue at them. The money changers were business people. And what money did they change? So the Palestine was ruled by the Romans, and the Romans, they had their currency, obviously, because they're colony of them. And what money they had a Caesar. They had a coin that had the picture of Caesar. And when we read Jesus, when they asked Jesus if they should pay taxes and give money to Caesar, and he asks them what he gets a Roman coin. Who is this guy here? This is Caesar. So you give Caesar what's Caesar's and God what's God's. And Caesar back then was the emperor. It was a title, not a name. Now it's a name. And in that time was Augustus. So, but the Jewish people, they had autonomy within that system. There was an arrangement that they made. So they, in their business, and Jewish, they don't like to do business too much with non-Jewish. So they do a lot of business with Jewish people. So they had this system that within their community, they would use Jewish money because the other money was corrupt. It was a Gentile money. So for a person to buy a sacrificial animal, and for that sacrificial animal to be clean, he could not use dirty money. So he had to use clean money, and the clean money was the Jewish money. So the money changer were these people. They're like when we go travel, right? We go to the airport, there's this exchange there, the booth. So you go exchange, you trade the money for that one that is acceptable where you're going. So the money changer didn't care if the money was dirty or clean. They want profit. So that was one of the things. And Jesus said, it's commerce. So it shouldn't be there. And also he was complaining about people paying others to pray for them. And that is something that is not unusual. Even today, people in some countries, they pay people, normally women, to go and cry in funerals and they cry loud. The louder they're professional criers, and the louder they cry, the most money they make, because they believe that that person will be happier having people praying for them. And that's usually because, it defeats the purpose. So the prayer is something some people also charge. You pay me, I pray for you. I'm a great prayer. So, and then in this chapter, Kardec is saying this thing is, it's all nonsense and it shouldn't be that. And Jesus taught that no money involved. There should be no money involved in our interaction with God. Or that. So, and that was his complaint. So this is in one era of these teachings back then at that time. So Jesus specifically told his disciples, you go and you do the cleansing, you do the healing, you do all that, but you do not charge. Don't take gold, don't take silver, don't take brass. There's no paper money back then. It was metal that was of value. And those were the three most valuable metals back then. Don't take anything. Why? Because you didn't pay for what you're doing, for what you learned, for the gift that you received, the gift of healing, cleansing, giving hope, bettering people's lives, alleviating suffering. You didn't pay anything for that, so you have no right to charge. So Kardec, then Kardec was the one who, and with the spiritists who coordinated the spiritist doctrine. Then and that's our gospel according to Spiritism is teachings of Jesus. So there's the teaching that is described, and then instruction of the spirits. How do we understand those teachings? And also Kardec's observations from, his intellectual side, and also intuition, and also the whisperings that he got from the spirits, and so forth. So then we fast forward to 1862, a little bit before that, when they were writing the gospel according to Spiritism. And obviously that was a time that mediumship was big, and there were mediums. Obviously there's a lot of charlatanism. If you study the history of spiritualism that started here in the United States, upstate New York, Rochester, and then started in Hydesville with the Fox sisters rappings and stuff, and then spread. And there's more history before that, but this is not the time. And so there are mediums that they charged. Even what remained today from the spiritualism that started back then, 1852 is kind of 51 is like the official date where the modern American spiritualism started as a religion or as a group. And the rappings, if you study the Fox sisters, was 1848. So 2-3 years later, the rappings culminated into, like I said, it was not teachings, because there's no writing, there's nothing written other than the phenomenon that happened. So there's no teachings in the spiritualist religion. The teachings, because the Spiritism spread, then the Spiritism spread all over the world. Then when it got to England, then when it got to France, then in France there was also those seances in homes and stuff. But there was, when we study the history of Spiritism, we see that there was Kardec designated as an incarnate being, spirit, to coordinate the event, or the workings that would be the spiritist doctrine. So the teachings, when the teachings that we have in our spirit doctrine were from Kardec, not the teachings, the questions. Because Kardec started going to the meetings And then he said, there's something here, because there were questions. So most of the questions that they ask is frivolous questions. And the spirits were there. But first, they were there for entertainment. They'll say huge entertainment back then. Huge. So, and then Kardec, when he was skeptical to the core, a scientist, but then he said, there may be something interesting here, especially when he saw the physical phenomenon, tables going up and down and answering questions. You ask, on the table to hit the floor 3 times, it would do it without anybody's interference. It had someone, a medium close, and that was something that a lot of people questioned, that it's rigged, that they've rigged the chair and the chair does that. But there was huge phenomenon. So question thought there's intelligence there. And then he said, if there's intelligence, if I ask questions that are more intelligent, I'll get answers. So he started asking the question. And so when you study, when you read the Spirits book, all the 1,018 or 19 questions, there's one question divided in 2. So depending on, could be 118 or 1,018, 1,019. Every question is Kardec's. Every answer is the Spirits. Like the 2 girls, the Baudin sisters, that were mediums when they were they're coordinated. It was first was the little basket, and then later they psychographed, they wrote it with pencils or chalk, and then later on there was also psychophony or speaking mediumship. So and then it became something serious, and Kardec, then mediums started developing, and there were mediums that were there, healing mediums that would heal people. So, and in charlatanism, of course, to people calling them mediums, they would charge. But Kardec said, and we see this in this chapter, mediumship is something sacred. It is something that a medium should use. It has a gift that he should use for the goodness of humanity, to better people life, give them hope. Chico Xavier in Brazil, Chico Xavier, for instance, never charged for what he did, and he did a lot of healing. He was not a healing medium. His healing was psychological. He would give a lot of message to people, would go there, and people flock Spirit Center when someone close to them die, and they want to know if they never heard of Spiritism. They want to know if they continue to live. So Chico gave them the messages that would delay that suffering a little bit. So he used his mediumship for that, and we see other mediums who does that. So Kardec is against it, and there's a lot of mediums who charge money because they're charlatans, and they think that they should charge, but they shouldn't. So in this historical phase, second part, then it is Kardec in the chapter admonishing or warning mediums not to do that. You didn't pay for your gift, so you give it for free. Use your talent to help diminish suffering on earth that is widespread. We know that. We all know that. Okay, now the practical part. So what? I had a wonderful teacher, and would say, that we had this group. It was part of my psychology and another degree, liberal studies. So we had this philosophical talks. So we had books, and he was amazing. So we had stories that we wrote and read, and then we discussed. And then you gave all this explanation, all this thing that you thought that you were doing great, and he look at you. So what? Well, after all this, what do I do with this information that you're giving me? So what do I do with it? So this is the practical part of the teaching. Now many of us, we are in the position of the patients, not of the physician. So we are far from the position of the apostles that go out to cure. We are on the other side, on the one that didn't need apostles coming. So how can we go out and cure the sick or heal the lepers. Medicine is doing great on that, so leprosy is controlled. There's no much need for us and raise the dead. So what do we do with it? How can we learn? If we can cure anybody because we don't have the talent or the gift, what we can do, what can we do with these teachings? Now, has anybody read The Little Prince? The Little Prince. Little Prince is an amazing little book. And I read it 3 or 4 times to my grandson in the past months as a bedtime story. So the Little Prince, he lives in a planet. It's not a planet, it's an asteroid. It's so small that only him fits in there. So there's only him living in that asteroid. And he has a rose that he takes very good care of, his rose. And this rose has a caterpillar that one day will become a butterfly. And then there are other small asteroids where only one person lives. And what the author did was, French author, he put like types of personalities on each of this, and then he talked about a little bit of them. So one of them is a businessman, and he's always busy. He always counting things. He counts stars. He owns the stars. He had 5 million. He has stars, a lot of stars that he owns, and it's only him on the planet. Very small planet. There's another planet. There is a drunkard that drinks, and then he's there regretting because why he drinks. I'm thinking about why. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about my drinking. I'm ashamed. So don't drink anymore. Then it's easy to fix that. There's another one that's a vain man. So the man wants applause. He wants compliments, like Trump. So he would be in that planet, in that asteroid. And there's another one. It's a guy who lights the street lamps. That's what he does. In the morning, he turns the lights off. At night, he turns them on. And he does that constantly because it's a small asteroid that turns around the sun hundreds of times. So there's always a sunset and sunrise. So all he does is that. The sun sets, he goes turn on. Then the sun rises, he goes turn on. All that. And there's one that there's a king. So he goes to every one of them, and then he goes to the asteroid where the king is. So the asteroid's so small, so the king has his throne there on the asteroid, sits there. He has a robe that covers half of the planet, and he has his crown. And then the little prince approaches him, and he's so happy. He says, "Finally, I have a subject." Because he was the king of, and they said, "Why, you don't have subjects here?" No, no one lives here, just me. So what is your reign? What do you reign over? Everything. I'm the king of everything here. And then he likes takes a like on a little prince and said, "Why don't you stay here with me?" He said, and then the king offers him, "If you stay here, I'm going to make you a minister." He said, "A minister of what?" He says, "A minister of justice." A minister of justice. But who am I going to judge? There's nobody here. He says, judge yourself. Judge yourself if you don't have anybody to judge. I can forget everything about this little prince story. I will never forget this part. Judge yourself. And that's what we should be doing every day. Now, if we can't cure others because we don't have that power, we can heal ourselves. That's where we start. And that's how we start transforming humanity. Because humanity is each one of us. Like each cell, every cell in our human body is one person in the humanity's body. One sick cell, the body gets sick. If you heal that cell, you heal at least the organ, or part of the organ. So we start by healing ourselves. So that's how we start. We take the practical part of this teaching. Now, and there are illnesses that we know. We all know our story. We all know our story. We know our past. We know our present. We know what we think, the way we think, the way we act. Nobody knows it better than we do. We know where our faults are. We know the mistakes that we made. We know the mistakes we corrected. And we know the mistakes that we keep making. And we alone are the only ones that can change that. And the only ones that can change our lives. Other people can help, obviously. If we had a serious illness, medicine will help. If we have mental illness or psychological illness, there are professionals for that can help. Ultimately, it is on us first. So we, like you're reading, we cannot blame anybody for anything. There's no one to blame because we are in charge. Every minute of our lives, we're in charge. So illnesses, physical illness, for instance, we had the karmic illness from other lives. Things that we come suffering since baby. We don't know why. We hadn't even had time to breathe correctly, and we already being diagnosed with illnesses. So it could be a karmic illness that we come here to fix or to learn from. Mistakes that we made that now we're paying the price. But it's a price that it's not it's a lesson that we're learning when we know it, why, or when we look for the reason why. So we have this, and then we have our current illnesses from this life. So how do we judge ourselves and how do we start healing ourselves? First, by analyzing how our life is now. How is our health? How is our mind? Our relationships with people we love. And those are the people that we hurt the most. Those that are part of our group, close group, of the laboratory that we came here to use and participate in order for all of us to grow. We grow, we do the work ourselves, and then we serve as a teacher or as a mentor or as an example, as a role model to others around us. Sometimes we're teaching people without saying a single word, just by our actions, by the way we act. So we analyze how our lives is doing. We're happy most of the time. Yeah, health is good. Finances are okay. So we've done a good job with our lives in the past ones and this one too. So what do? What can I do better? How can we improve ourselves? Because in our evolutionary journey, and we know as a spirit, we know that intuitively, is that we have to leave this earth better than when we came. And we improve that. And we do that already without much thinking. We get a better, we improve intellectually as we go to school. We increase our intelligence as we do things, as we do work. And then morally, as we live a decent life. Spiritually, as we go and seek things that is higher and beyond what is material. We do that kind of automatically. But if we know other things that is blatant, that is causing trouble, relationship is one of them, be it in a family, be it in your work environment with another person. When you have someone that your personalities clashing, that you're always having problem, that is your teacher, not your enemy. That is the lesson that you need to learn. So, and you can take action to do it. And that brings us to the law of cause and effect. It's a law. We cannot get away with it. We cannot fool ourselves. Everything that we do, every action that we take, every thought that we think, every feeling that we feel that is negative is going to cause an adverse reaction in our lives. It's a law. So when we know it for sure, then we are better able to be careful on our thinking, feeling, and action, especially those that are going to hurt others. We are always going to make a mistake. We're always going to make the wrong choices once because we didn't know better. That's okay. We learn. Lessons learned. It could cost you money, could cost you friendship. And friendship is something also, both of them. Money, you can get it back. Relationship, friendship, you can turn it around. Because when you're friend, you're friend. The people that, that you have this interchange and then exchange and everything that, that you get mad at, and then you go around, few days, months, years without talking. If you know that that's your friend, and if you understand it, that's a person that you're going to approach. And those are things that we need to work on, because that's why we're here. That's why we're coming together, especially those that you keep bumping into every day, every minute. And, that's the one. And that's the sign, that's the sign. I got to give this guy a hug or woman and ask forgiveness. Ask forgiveness. Ask forgiveness. Do not feel afraid to ask. It's the greatest thing that a spirit in its way to evolution, to greatness can do. Have this humility of admitting the mistake and asking forgiveness. No shame at all. It's points that we get. So we can't change it, but we can learn to live with it, being more careful with our thoughts or actions. Just be more careful. We know that's going to result in something. If it could be the level of annoyance or level of dissatisfaction that we're going to get is going to depend on how big or how serious those actions were. Sometimes it's something minor, but many times it is something that could hurt us, especially those that hurt other people. Anything that we do that is bad, anything that we do that is good, we are the first one affected by it. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. The hatred for someone is not hurting the person as much as hurting us, or the resentment that we hold. Shakespeare said that hating someone is like taking poison and waiting for that person to die. So you are going to be hurt first. So we learn from that. And then in this part, what can we do practically with this healing teaching of Jesus if we are not able to go out and heal people like his disciples could? So we put in our mind, and this could be a good resolution for the second half of 2019 and for the rest of our incarnation in this life, until the day comes when we are invited to cross over, then we live a life of healing. And what is the first thing? The healing energy: peace, harmony, love, compassion, wherever we are and whoever we are with, indiscriminately. First, if we do that, there is an inner peace that's going to take over, a harmony that is going to take over, a love that we're going to feel, compassion that there will be no effort in spreading, because it is automatically. It's just we turn the light off, gets dark. We turn it on, it lights up, brightens up automatically. So we are this. We could be also this healing centers, walking healing centers. And the first beneficiary of it is us. And then everything that we come in contact with, even the plants in your house, will feel the difference, will feel your energy, and will get greener and healthier. And this is why we are in this incarnation. Thank you very much. Now we're going to have a prayer, and then the passes. So in thankfulness for being here in this life, in this beautiful life, asking always the guidance of our masters, Jesus, our spirits, benevolent spirits, our guardians that walk with us, guide us in this life. Always asking that you be with us, showing us the right path, the right way, and also always giving us your blessings, your peace, now and forever. Thank you.